Hello and welcome to Real Talk, Real Women, the podcast that was designed to equip, inspire, motivate, and empower the woman, her life, and her business as you redefine, rediscover, and reintroduce the new you unapologetically. Now, here are your hosts, Martha Cooper Hudson and Adrienne Johnson.
Hello to all of my awesome and amazing girlfriends and a few good men who's listening to our show today. My name is Martha Cooper Hudson, your extractor of purpose, your comeback coach, and I want to welcome you to Real Talk, Real Women, the podcast. This podcast was designed and created to equip, inspire, motivate, and empower the woman, her life, and her business. And today, I feel, listen, ladies, I feel like a piece of me is missing today because I do not have my hot sauce to my fish, my peanut butter to this jelly, and my Gail to my Oprah here inside of the studio. I am missing my co-host, Miss Adrienne M. Johnson, who is missing in action today. So, Adrienne, I miss you, girl. Don't do me like that anymore. I can't live without you because you are that ride or die who saw the vision, connected to the vision, and have been with me for over 6 years doing exactly what we do on this planet. But today on the show, we will take a journey with an amazing woman whom I've had the pleasure of having here in my studios today with me. And we're going to have some real talk about how she was sleeping with the enemy, but how she gave it all up to save her life. October is Breast Cancer Awareness and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as serious as they both are, domestic violence, I feel, now this is my personal opinion, I feel gets swept under the rug. Please understand that I am not trying to turn down the light on breast cancer awareness. Some of my best friends are going through the journey right now. My cousins have won the journey. Some have lost their lives. But I wanted to bring forth a larger light on domestic violence. See, what I know for sure is this. The statistics continues to rise on the number of domestic violence victims that continues to lose their lives each and every day at the hands of their abusers. See, I'm based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And this morning alone, I heard on the news that out of our 89 homicides that have taken place in 2019, 21 have been women who's lost their lives in a domestic abuse relationship. And they have lost their lives at the hands of their abusers simply because they did not know how to get out. And because of that, they chose to stay, which in turn, they chose to give their lives up. Why? Because at the hands of their victims, at their abusers, they became the victim yet again of another homicide. So what I know for sure, ladies who's listening and gentlemen, facts sells and story tales. And the facts are alarming, to say the least. That in 2019, a total of 4,774,000 women in the U.S. experiences physical violence by an intimate partner every year. Did you get that? 4 million women experience physical violence by an intimate partner every year. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime. And the third leading cause of homelessness among families is domestic violence. Facts do not lie. And each year, over 2 million injuries and 1,300 deaths are caused as a result of domestic violence. And here in Charlotte, 21 has happened already in 2019. Ladies, I need you to hear fact number 5. 3 women are murdered every day by an intimate partner. Women ages 18 to 34 are at the greatest risk of becoming domestic violence victims. And every 9 seconds, a woman in the U.S. is the victim of domestic violence. Domestic violence is not just physical, ladies. Abuse can also be sexual, psychological, emotional, and or financial. And in this day and time of our digital era, digital abuse and stalking also counts. So I am so honored, my sisters, to have the change catalyst, the president of Joan T. Randall's Enterprises, and the founder of the Victorious You Foundation, in the studios with me today. She is an international speaker and an award-winning 5-time best-selling author who will share with us later about her latest project. She has been seen on ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. But before she was any of those things, she was a victim who became a victor over domestic violence. So I want you to show some love and help me welcome my phenomenal sister, Miss Joan Randall, to Real Talk, Real Women. Joan, come in and say hello to our listeners.
Hello, hello, hello. My goodness, it is great to be here. And can I just tell you, those statistics that you just shared with me touched my heart.
Wow.
Touched my heart.
Wow.
It brought me back. But I'm so happy I'm here today to share how you can get out.
Wow.
Because that's important.
And I am so glad that you said yes to me to come in, to take off your mask, to share your truth and stand in your authenticity so that we can impact the lives of those women who's suffering in silence right now, Joan. Because when I start to look at those statistics, my heart got full.
Yeah.
Because I was taken back to my childhood. I was taken back to friends and loved ones whom I know were victims, and they hid it until they got enough courage. And I would always say that that was a non-negotiable for me in my marriage. When my husband and I got married, the first thing I said to him, there were 2 non-negotiables. And one of those non-negotiables was this, that if you ever touched me in a violent manner, that it was going down in 2 ways. And I was very honest with him. One, the cops was going to come get me.
Right.
Because, and I was going to wear orange, and it was going to have 4 letters on the back. You know, at that time I was in South Carolina, so it was going to say SCDC.
Right.
Or both of us was going out. But I was never going out without a fight. And that immediately at that moment, it was going to be over. But what I realized, Joan, that's so easily said.
Ah, yes.
That's so easily said. And so often, we can always say what we will not do until it happens.
Uh-huh.
And what we will not tolerate until it happens. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough to know, I can speak only from my household, is that has never happened. However, I have met women, some of the strongest women, who simply said those same things. And they said to me, Martha, but when it happened, it was different. Because I had so many other variables to think about and to consider. And so we're going to get into the show right now so that you all can hear from Joan herself. So, Joan, my island sister.
Yes.
Let's go back in time.
Yeah.
I want you to take our listeners back in time, if you may, in order to bring them forward. I want you to go back into your childhood, and I want you to think about what behaviors and characteristics did you witness in your life as a child, maybe from your parents, maybe from your environment that you were in, that showed you or taught you that this type of behavior was okay?
That's a very good question because I did not see this in my family at all.
Wow.
Domestic violence was not even something I understood. I didn't even know it existed because all I saw from my parents was love. Wow. I was born and bred and raised in love. And that was what I saw. So it is so easy for someone to say, oh, it may have been something that you have experienced.
Absolutely.
I did not. I absolutely did not. Now, on the flip side, it is taking me years to understand that I saw behaviors from my father that made me very reluctant to be in a relationship. It made me promiscuous.
Okay.
If I could just be real with you.
Yes,
This
please.
is real talk.
This is real talk.
I saw my dad treat my mom in a way where he was, there was a lot of infidelity. There was betrayal because my father walked out of the household and went to live with a woman that was the same age as my older sister.
Wow. Wow. How did that affect your mom?
Devastated her, but she was so quiet and so reserved and such an introvert that she kept it and never said a word. But I heard her cry at night. I heard her cry, sobbed at night. But around the children, she never said a word. And my father moved out of the house, and I was old enough and decided that I was going to move out of the house as well and take my mother and my younger sister with me. And that's what I did.
Wow. And at what age did you make that decision? Because that's really interesting. Because were you the oldest?
I was the oldest of the union between my mom and dad, yes.
So as that old, because I'm an older child, and the first thing you wanted to do was protect mom and the siblings.
Yes.
Because I can remember that's all I ever wanted to do was to protect my mom and protect my siblings.
Yes.
As the oldest child, walking by that door, your mom never knowing that you were on the other side, hearing her sob and cry over the fact that she's left here with these children. How did that affect you?
Oh, my God.
And your relationships?
You can't even imagine because and let me take you even a little bit further backwards. So at 18, I won a scholarship for Teachers College.
Okay.
And at that time, and we're from the islands, right?
Right.
So it's customary that the older child, once she graduates high school, she work and help the family.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I got a scholarship for Teachers College. So I was super excited because I wanted to get away from my parents' home.
Right.
And my father said, I need you. I'm done taking care of you. So now I need you to go to work and help the family. My mother was upset at that decision, but she acquiesced because everything was about my dad. Her life was about my father and her children. And so I said to my dad, okay, I'm going to take a year off and go work and help, and then I will go back to school.
Right.
Not recognizing that I forfeited my scholarship.
Wow. Wow.
So I was 20 years old when my father walked away from my mother. And at that was the age I was already working. I was in a very good position. And I decided I was going to move away so that my mom and my younger sister would move away with me. And that's what I did. It destroyed my relationship with men. Wow. I promised myself that I would never allow a man to do that to me. So I was going to be on the defensive. Absolutely. So I became very promiscuous and had no emotional connection to any guy that was deep. I just used them for what I could get and what they wanted from me. So it was an even trade.
Right.
I want your money. You want my body, and that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. So now that I have a running joke between me and one of my best friends. He's a retired Marine. When I first met him, we became really good friends, and he simply said to me, one of the things that you need to know is that I have been the pimp of the year for 10 consecutive years in a row, right? And so then I said, well, one of the things that I want you to recognize and realize about Martha is that those same 10 years that you thought you were running game on women, I was pimpette of the year for 15 consecutive years in a row. And so that was our running joke. We always laugh. And even with my husband, I would share with him and say, listen, game recognizes game.
Come on.
And so whatever you're coming with, trust me, I've came with it twice as hard.
Come on.
And so he always says, that's how you got me off of the field, because you recognized my game and I couldn't do anything about it. And I said, absolutely right. So please understand. And so you just brought that memory back to how I used to say all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, for 15 consecutive years, I held the title.
Yeah.
So do not get it twisted. So go ahead, Joan.
Yeah. So, I look at my relationship with men in a way that I felt like I had control over what I wanted to do.
Right.
Right. And so that led to me meeting this guy one day who was on vacation in Jamaica. And when he asked me for directions, and I recognized that, hey, this guy's from the United States.
Right.
This may be my shot, right?
Absolutely.
Let me see how this will play out. And it did play out in a way where I ended up becoming his wife.
Wow. Now, I want you to hold that, because I know that what's coming next is going to take us into that journey of how you said this would never happen.
Yep.
And things just turned in a totally different direction for you. And so I want you to hold that. But I do want to ask you, as your relationships start to build with men, what were some of those things that you said to yourself would never happen?
Number one, he would never cheat on me because I was going to do it first.
Absolutely. You were going to get him before he got me.
Okay. Absolutely. Number two, you could not be with me and not support me in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. If you don't bring home the bacon.
Right. then there's no bacon for you.
There's no bacon. There's just no bacon for you if the bacon isn't coming home. I got you.
Yeah. And then there was not a deep emotional connection. I cut myself off from feeling love.
Wow.
Because what stays in my mind was betrayal.
Absolutely.
And I revered my dad. He was like everything to me. I loved him more than love itself. And so for him to betray our family in the way he did, and then he got the lady pregnant. Not once, but twice.
Wow.
So it destroyed me. And I did not recognize at the time that it was my father's betrayal that got me into the position that I ended up being in.
Absolutely. Because we were looking for something else.
Yes.
And when the abuser started showing you some of the things that you were looking for, that was being masked. Ooh, that was being masked.
Come on now.
Behind the scenes.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I need you to stay tuned. Because we need to pause for the cause. And I need to share a highlight from our sponsor who sponsored this segment and episode of Real Talk, Real Women. This show is being sponsored by Chasing Purpose LLC and Tava Health and Wellness Company, where you can lose 5 pounds in 5 days with their amazing 1-day Kai Detox Tea, their Vita Energy Booster, and their Valet 30 all liquid vitamin, which is their one-shot liquid vitamin that gives you 85 to 90% of your daily vitamins within 30 seconds of your consumption. So ladies, if you are looking to shed those pounds before the holiday season, then I want you to go over right now and order your 30-day supply today at chasingpurpose.tavalifestyle.com. Again, that's HTTP chasingpurpose.tava lifestyle.com. Wow, Joan, you said a lot.
I did.
Before we went off to pause for the cause and take care of our sponsor for this particular segment. And I want us to go back because we are having an amazing conversation in the studio today on domestic violence with my guest, my survivor, my island Jamaican sister gal, Miss Joan Randall, as she shares her truth on why she left everything behind in order to save her life. So Joan,
Yes.
take us back to the first signs of abuse that you experienced with your ex-husband that maybe should have sent up a red flag, but maybe you missed it. Take us back there first.
So I got married. I came to the United States and I was living with him. And the very first week, within the first to second week of me living in the home with him, the first sign of abuse appeared.
Wow.
I went to the pharmacy. I loved it here. I felt like I was in the place that I've always wanted to be. I heard so much about the U.S. when I lived in Jamaica, and I felt like Jamaica was closing in on me. So when the opportunity came to be with this guy, I didn't even give it a second thought. My mom said, "Are you sure? Do you know enough about him to be moving from Jamaica to the United States to live with him?" I didn't care. I just needed the opportunity. So the second week after I got here, I walked to the pharmacy, came back. He came home from his store. He owned his own business and recognized that I had left but did not tell him. And he slapped me across my face, opened his hand and slapped me. And I was shocked. And I said, "Why did you hit me?" And he said, "It's because you left and didn't tell me. And do you know what can happen to you in this country? Do you know there are predators out there that's just waiting to pounce on you?" And that was so I started crying because I'm young, I'm naive. I started crying. And that was the first sign.
Wow. And it only took a week for that side of him
Yes.
to come to fruition.
Yep.
In your mind, what did you say to yourself at that moment? Because I know that it stunned you.
Yep.
You were not looking for that. You were not expecting that. And when that happened and he had the audacity to open his hands and slap you for walking to the pharmacy, because you needed something from the store, you wanted to get out to see, and you did not let him know and or gain permission from him. How did that really make you feel? And what did that do to you on the inside at that moment?
Well, it scared me because I had not seen that side of him. But I noticed something that was unique. The look on his face, like the anger, like his eyes changed color when it happened. And I saw this flash of a person that looked like evil. And that was what scared me to the depth of my soul. And that was the first time I retreated within myself.
Wow.
because now I am at his disposal. I'm living in his house. And he had an 11-year-old daughter when I moved into the house with him. And I retreated because I wasn't sure why or how or what I got myself into. Everything that my mom had spoken to me about before I left Jamaica, I'm like, oh my God, I really got myself into a jam. He saw the expression on my face. And so he was quick to say, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. It was just, I just did it because I wanted you to understand that you can't just go on the streets of the United States like this and without letting me know where you are. I'm sorry, it'll never happen again.
Right.
And I believed it. I believed it.
So
and
many
in
women
my
do.
mind, I'm saying, well, I maybe should have told him. It was me. It was my fault why this happened. If I just called him and say, hey, I'm going to go to the pharmacy, this wouldn't happen. So I immediately blamed myself.
Wow.
Blamed me.
Do you know, and I'm listening to that because there's so many women that's sitting at home right now who's in a domestic violent relationship and they blame themselves. And even the abuser say to them, see what you made me do?
Oh, yeah.
This is your fault because you spoke to a guy that said hello to you. Yeah. You put on this dress that allowed the other men in the room to look at you. You didn't cook the food the way that it should have been. You didn't pick my children up when I said or when you said you would. So all of this is your fault because you talked back to me. You spoke your mind. You said what you would not have. And as a result of that, you caused me to be this violent, evil individual that had to show you who was boss. Question for you. Were you all married at that time?
Yes.
So you married him and you came over.
Yep.
How long before you all got married that you all dated and saw each other?
6 months.
6 months. And in those 6 months, you didn't see any signs of
because
this behavior?
He was in the U.S. The 6 months we dated, he was here and I was there. So it was communication via phone. And it was all love. And let me just share this with you. He painted a picture of me that made me feel like a queen. Because I was born on a day, July 23rd, that is the birthday of the emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, and he was a Rastafarian.
Okay, gotcha.
So just my birthday alone, when he met me and I told him my birthday, he thought I was his queen. He found his queen. And he praised me just for my birthday, and everything about me was what he was looking for. So he painted this picture of perfection in his mind about me. And I think when I got here and he recognized that I was not perfect, then he vilified me because I was no longer this queen that he had made up in his mind.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? Do you think, or you, as a matter of fact, you probably know the answer. I'm quite sure you know the answer to this. Did he ever witness in his life his mom being abused?
He never witnessed that.
Wow.
But I'll tell you what I know. His father died when he was 3 years old.
Okay.
His mother got remarried. But I remember him saying to me time and time again that his mother has never said the words, I love you, to him.
Wow.
And when he was in high school, his mother would put a padlock on the refrigerator. So he would come home and his brother from school, and they were hungry and couldn't go in the refrigerator because it was locked. So they ended up being on the streets and hustling on the street to be able to eat.
So he did not experience
love,
violence, and love, but he experienced emotional abuse.
Yes.
By the very person
that should love him.
That should have loved him irregardless.
Yes.
So he was angry
at women.
And when you said that anger carried over with your ex-husband all throughout his life, because the very person We as mothers are supposed to be nurturing and loving and giving that security blanket that even if the world is falling down, the one person that they can truly depend on was the one person that he couldn't depend on. And so that was very interesting. And I'm glad. And I wanted to bring that to light because I always say that there's a history behind the abuse.
Yes.
And I'll share that even in this segment as we start to talk about the emotional abuse. But I want to ask you, how long did you stay in that abusive marriage? And then what are some of the things that transpired in and through the abuse? Because I think that women really need to understand that it started with a slap, but it went even deeper and deeper than that. And then after you realize, wait a minute, if I do not leave this marriage on my own, I'm going to leave in a body bag.
Yeah.
I want you to take us there.
So many things happen, and it's all in the book. But let me just give you the short version. It became so bad that I thought about taking my life and the life of my children. Now, let me give you a backstory. I had a daughter before I left Jamaica to come and be with him. And I left my daughter with my mother so that I could come up and get settled. And then I took my daughter up to be with us. But there were so many things I experienced. It was not only physical abuse. It was the emotional abuse. It was the words he used to call me. Stupid was his favorite word for me. And it was the financial abuse. It was the spiritual abuse. I could not call the name Jesus in the house. So I experienced emotional, physical, verbal, spiritual, financial, all kind of abuse. And I lost myself. I no longer knew who I was. I remember walking into my place of work and just hoping that someone would look at me and know that I was dying. But no one did. And so I felt invisible.
Wow.
No one ever asked me if I was okay. Even when they saw the black and blue eyes, even when they saw my face with tears stained, no one would ever look at me and said, "How can I help you?"
Wow.
So I felt empty and I felt lost. And then I had this brilliant idea that I needed to go to sleep. This needed to end. And if I can't end it, then I have a great idea.
Wow.
I was going to go home and I was going to take the life of my girls and myself.
Because you didn't want them to have to live through this anymore, and you didn't want to live through this another day.
And I was not going to leave them here.
That's right.
And so that was my plan.
Wow. Wow. And you said something that's so powerful, because there are women and men that's walking around the workplace that see the pain, the hurt, and the abuse inside of their coworkers and their friends and their loved ones. And they're not taking the moment to say, "Let me help you. Can I help you?" Do you realize how many lives could have possibly been saved by those simple words of, "Can I help you? You do not have to live like this. And whatever it takes, let's get it done."
Yeah.
In America, definitely, we're so busy thinking that we need to mind our own business, and that how can we help someone else when our stuff is jacked up, when our stuff is not perfect. But we can. We can. And there are people walking around right now that the listeners who's listening to this podcast, that who's suffering at the hands of their abusers. We have women. I was talking to a young lady who works in domestic violence, and she was saying to me, I live we live on the south end of Charlotte. And so being on the south end, that's wealth. There's a lot of wealthy people on the south end of Charlotte. And she said, Martha, you will be amazed at the wealthy women who's suffering at the hands of their wealthy spouses who knows not to leave black eyes on them, but they beat them internally, and they beat them underneath their clothes so that the scars can never be seen with the naked eye unless they undress themselves and or share. And then she was sharing one story, and she said there was a young lady who came into her office. Her husband had forbidden her. They had 7 bedrooms in their house. He had forbidden her to sleep in any bed inside of the house, and that she needed to sleep on the dog's bed, and the dog was able to sleep in her bed. And when they tried to get her to leave, her response was, where would I go? I gave up my college education. I gave up my degrees and my certifications. I gave up my family. I have no relationship with them because he forbid me to have those relationships. I don't have a circle outside of the dog and my children in this house. Where am I going to go? And it's so many women, and abuse doesn't have a dollar sign behind it.
Or a color.
There are women of every ethnic background that's being abused every single minute in this world. And so when I said that to say that you don't have to be on the lower end of the socioeconomic status in order to be abused. Abuse has no color. It has no wealth, no economic background. Abuse happens to everyone.
Yeah. And I want to share something with you when you talked about that lady who had to sleep on the dog's bed. And this is what I want to share. Some of the reasons why women that are in abusive relationship don't say anything is because of fear, shame, embarrassment, and judgment. Because people that are not in that situation judge you. Well, why are you staying?
That's right.
How did that happen? You should just get up and go. You should just get up and leave. It is not as easy as that. However, if you ever say to that same woman, how can I help you?
That's right.
What can I do to assist? Then you change the narrative.
That's exactly right.
And now you are giving them hope. Just those words, how can I help you, is different from why are you staying?
That's right.
One is judgment, one is hope.
I love what you just said because we are so quick to judge.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time that when you talk to me, it's a non-judgmental conversation because I've been judged enough in my life. And I promised myself, I said, I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody's in.
Right.
So there's no way that I'm going to judge why you're still there. But if I can help you and give you hope that there could possibly be sunshine at the end of this darkness, then that's my job. And so if you're listening to this and you have judged anyone on and asking them why, because as I said at the beginning of the show, I used to say there's no way in the world that's going to happen to Martha. Because Martha's going to do this, Martha's going to do that, but Martha has never had to make that choice and decision.
And that's the ultimate.
That's right.
It is the ultimate. And let me tell you something. You're so broken down. You are so defeated. You're so beaten down. You don't know who you are. You don't even recall your name. You don't even remember. I didn't even remember who Joan was. I lost myself in a way that I wanted to go to sleep. I didn't want to live. But God blessed me with 2 girls that gave me the will to continue because my 4-year-old stopped me from taking our lives.
My Lord. The baby. Wow.
And while I was being like naive and a fool to what my husband was doing to me, my 11-year-old was packing bags and putting them in the attic for the moment when Mom, got a hold of herself to say, I'm ready to go. I didn't have to worry about her and her sister's stuff because they were already packed.
Jesus. Wow.
It is the will of my two girls that pushed me to leave. I ran away with them in our pajamas with 10 black trash bags in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. And, my heart is full because even when mom couldn't figure it out, the 11-year-old was packing, saying that there's got to be something better for us on the other end. So let me prepare for us to leave.
Yeah.
And when mom gets it, we're going to be ready. And all we have to do is leave. Now, when you left in the middle of the night in your pajamas with your two babies, where was your ex-husband?
He wasn't there because he was gone. He picks a fight every night so he could leave.
To go do what he wanted to do.
And then he comes back right before dawn, right 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Right. Depending on the season.
Okay.
Because 5 o'clock sometimes is daybreak and then 5 o'clock sometimes is really dark.
Absolutely.
And so he would pick a fight me, hit me, tear me down, and then he leaves. So on this particular night, he was watching the O.J. Simpson trial.
Okay.
Picked a fight, and then he left. And I said, I want to go. And my 11-year-old said, Mom, it's time.
Wow.
And I said, baby, how do we leave? She said, Mom, you don't know I've been helping you. She ran upstairs. She pulled down the stairs to the attic, and out came 6 black trash bags.
My God.
Now, I was always wondering why their clothes and shoes would disappear.
Right. You couldn't find them.
I couldn't find them.
Absolutely.
But she was smart, and she was packing this whole time.
Wow.
And so she went downstairs, got 4 more trash bags, brought them up, went into my drawers and just started throwing stuff in there. She said, Mom, we got to leave tonight. It is now. I said, I'm scared. What if he comes back? She said, he never normally comes back. But this is what got me. She said, write a letter and put it on the bed so he knows we left.
Wow. To make it definite, to let him know that you guys were never coming back.
That's it.
Wow.
And so while she's packing, I'm writing the letter.
Wow.
We packed our car. We drove out of there. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. Wow. And I got to a Howard Johnson motel. I saw the lights. So I pulled in. And I'm like, let me go in here and figure out what's my next.
Wow. How long did you guys stay married? How long were you in the house?
6.5 years.
6.5 years before you made the decision to actually leave.
Mm-hmm.
So as we segue into the final segment of our show with Joan, I was just thinking about, and as you were talking about your children, I was thinking about how for 11 years, 11 long years, we suffered emotional abuse at the hands of my alcoholic stepfather. And I remember asking my mom, Joan, like your daughter.
Yeah.
And I could remember over the years that I would ask her, Mom, when are you going to get out? Because as the oldest, I would watch my mom close herself up in my room, lock the door with us in it, and listen to my stepfather say, Mary, open this bleep, bleep door, or I'm going to burn this house down. Yep. And I always thought he would burn us up in the house. And I would look in my mom's eyes and I would say, why? My mom twin always would share with my stepfather that she had a bullet with his name on it. Because if he ever took her sister out, she would take him out. And I kept saying, why does it have to get to this point? I'm a kid. And I kept saying, a kid shouldn't have this type of pressure. My mom couldn't see it because she was held by the words in the Bible. And I said...
Misconstrued
words. And it wasn't until I gave my life to Christ and started to learn more about God that God, yes, he doesn't put more on you than you can bear, but he gives you free will to make a decision to leave.
Yes.
And she never did. She did not make that decision until I remember the day like it was yesterday. And I'll never forget, my stepfather had been out drinking all night at the bar. He came home. It was Sunday morning. My mom never missed church. There's so many women in the church suffering at the hands of their abusers because their abusers are using the word of God against them to stay there. And they are thinking that, if I just pray.
Even pastors are abusing the first lady.
Yes, a whole lot. You know, I just had this conversation with a girlfriend earlier this morning. But that day, my mom walked across the living room. My stepfather came home and he kept saying, Mary, I know you hear me talking to you. And my mom wouldn't say a word. She didn't say a word. She continued to get dressed. She continued to get dressed so that she could go to church. And as she's walking across the living room, my stepfather grabbed her around the neck. Now, in the 11 years of them being married, and even through the emotional abuse, that's the first time that he ever put his hands on her. And immediately, I'm sitting on the sofa. My brother is sitting on the sofa, and my cousin, who lived with us for quite a while, was sitting on the sofa. Immediately, my sister, who was probably 6, was between them saying, let my mom go. And my brother went in the kitchen and got a knife to kill him.
Wow.
And at that moment, I ran to the phone because we had telephones back then. Now no one has a phone in the house. I ran to the phone and I called my aunt. And my aunt lived 2 houses away from us. And immediately, all I said before he snatched the phone off the wall was, up, Martha, Daddy hit, and the phone went dead. And my Aunt Martha immediately got her gun because she was serious about that thing.
Yeah.
My cousins start running down the street, picking up anything in their hand that they could because they were going to take him out that day. And at that moment, at that moment, my mom realized that he could no longer live there anymore.
Right.
And that was the breaking moment that we packed his bags. We called the police, and he was never to return. And God bless his soul because it took years for me to forgive him.
Yeah.
But I realized, and we never had the opportunity before he passed away to have this conversation. I wanted to know what he was drowning with his liquor from his past that caused him to become an alcoholic and to emotionally abuse a family who loved him.
Wow.
And I knew he suffered from something.
He suffered. Yeah.
Because he drowned that out every day. If he could drink every day, he would call it his naughty head. That was that Seagram's gin that he would drink every day to drown out some pain that he never shared with anyone.
Wow.
With that being said, what do you think happened? What happened, first of all, with you and your children after you left? Because you said you saw Howard Johnson, but there were some other things that transpired. And once you left that abusive home, how did it affect your children even today?
Let me tell you, that's a very good question, and that gets me a little emotional when you ask me that. My younger one was so young, she doesn't remember everything, but my older, who was not his biological child and who was 11 at the time, who put the bags in the attic, which is why the book is called Bags in the Attic, it destroyed her. And I did not know the effects it had on her until she was in her early 20s.
Wow.
Right? And she sat me down one day and she said, he took my childhood from me because when he was tearing you down or hitting you or cursing at you, I was thinking of how I could kill him. And I was obsessed with killing him that I had no childhood. She said, I spent my entire childhood trying to help you and my because you could not help yourself.
Wow.
She said, because of that, it kept a piece of me from you.
Wow.
It kept a piece of me from you.
Wow.
And when I was suffering, I couldn't share it with you because I felt so bad for all the suffering that you went through. It took us years
wow,
to have restoration and forgiveness. And it had to start with me forgiving myself for the choices I made and what I put my children through.
That's right. That's right.
Because I had to forgive me because even when I left him and ran away and got on the plane and bought the one-way tickets to Florida and I stayed with my sister, I ended up becoming homeless. My mother died on my birthday. It was just one after the other that I felt like there was no way I was going to be able to survive.
Wow.
But every time I fell, those girls picked me up. Every time I fell, they picked me up. And it's the very same pain that I'm standing on today as my purpose.
Yes.
The very same thing that was supposed to take me out is the very same thing that is making me successful.
That's right.
And so today, I want anyone that's out there listening that if you're in that situation, that is not where you are supposed to be. I don't care how much you say that you can only marry one person or God blessed you with this marriage or, who God bless no man. That's all baloney.
That's right. A bunch of baloney.
Yeah, if he doesn't love you enough to respect you as his queen.
That's right.
And so it took forever for my daughter to be healed.
Wow. Ladies, our decisions affects our children more than you could possibly ever know. And because sometimes we think that it's okay to stay, it's not. Because we're teaching our children what they should settle for.
Right.
And we're showing our daughters that it's okay to be treated like that. And it's not.
It's not.
And we're showing our sons that when they get a wife, that they can treat them just like that because mom stayed.
Yeah.
And evidently that's okay. And it's not. And so I want you to know that your children are watching you.
Yeah.
And that those decisions that you make affects these babies. And these babies grow up to be broken children who sometimes they never figure out how to deal with it. Because they turn to other things, the illegal drugs, the abusiveness of their bodies themselves.
Yeah.
They turn to all of those things.
They become abusers themselves.
And they become abusers. And we don't want that.
No.
We don't want that. So, Joan, what would you say to the woman that's listening and or the man to this podcast today and thinking to herself or himself that I can't leave because I don't have the money? That she may be thinking that it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. Or who can I tell and where can I go? Mm-hmm. Give us 3 things you would share with that listener that's out there thinking and feeling those things.
Well, I want to share the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's 1-800-799-7233.
Can you repeat that?
1-800-799-7233. It's actually 1-800-799-SAFE. SAFE. That's what the 7233 is. But it is important if you're in a domestic violence relationship and you feel like you can't leave right now for whatever reasons, I need you to go to the the website. I'm sorry, go to the website. There are so many resources there that can teach you or give you tips and tools and strategies that you can utilize if you feel you must stay. But if you're in a violent situation where is a knife is drawn or choking happens or the physical part happens, you cannot stay because it will get deadly. 21 people this year in North Carolina alone have been killed by an intimate partner crime. Mm-hmm. So the second thing would be have a journal. Write what it is that you want to see manifest in your life. Write what it is that you want to happen. That was the one thing I did. I would have never recalled the things he did to me if I was not writing it. Because I buried so much of it. And it was in writing my book and going back to that old beat up journal that reminded me of the letters I wrote to God when I thought I wouldn't be able to make it.
Wow.
And that was how I was able to write my book. So write what's on your heart. Keep it in a place where he will never find it. And third, get involved with your church or someone that you can speak to. It doesn't have to be a family member because sometimes they are worse. Don't even share it with your family. Find a pastor, find a coworker, find a neighbor, find a friend.
That's right.
Someone, even a nurse at a hospital, someone that you can confide in and share what is happening so that maybe they can even help you. And then last thing I want to say, if you feel like you need to leave, and you have small children, give them a code word.
That's right.
Give them a code word that say, all right, mommy is getting ready to go, or this is serious. Here is the code for go. Here is the code for something serious is happening.
That's right.
So that they are always prepared that if you're ready to, and let me tell you this, the children don't want you to stay.
They don't.
So when you are saying, I'm staying for my children, they do not want you to stay. They are terrified every time mom hits dad or mom curses at dad or vice versa. And I'm saying mom because women are abusive as well.
Absolutely.
So whether it's mom doing this to dad or dad doing this to mom, the children don't like it. They are terrified and they are abused psychologically for watching you accept abuse.
That's right. That's right. And they want you to go.
Yes.
They want you to go. So please don't think you're doing your children a favor because you're not. You are doing them more harm than you are good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Joan.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to share with us your upcoming projects. What up-and-coming projects do you have on the horizon? Because you got some big ones, honey.
Listen, Bags in the Attic drops in November. It is the book that has taken me forever to write because I had to revisit every painful experience to write the book. So I'm super excited about that.
I'm excited for that one.
I can't wait. That comes out. That chronicles my journey, how we escaped, me and my daughters, domestic violence, and how we had to evoke the will to survive.
Wow.
We had to channel the will to survive because it's easier to give up than it is to survive.
Absolutely.
And then I have a conference that is coming up in March.
Yes.
And it's called the Limitless Lifestyle Method Conference. And it's all about mindset, mission, and money. Let me tell you what happens when you make a choice to leave. First, you have to tell your mind that you're going to leave.
That's right.
So it's the mindset.
You got to make a decision.
You got to make a decision. So it's a choice. And after the choice, then it becomes the courage. And after the courage, it becomes the commitment. And after the commitment becomes the consistency. Right? So you have to go like in those elements in order for you to really start to change the narrative of your life. And guess what? You owe it to yourself to be the best of who you are.
Yes, you do.
You were created to have dominion. You were created. You are your birthright is abundance. Your birthright is abundance. You are a descendant of Jesus Christ. Right?
That's right.
If you're a descendant of Jesus Christ, there is no abuse involved in the descendants of our Savior.
That's exactly right.
So if you can think about that for a moment, go back to Genesis, read Genesis. And
to the beginning.
Yes. Get yourself out of a relationship that does not look at you as the queen that you were created to be, the softest part of God's heart.
That's right. So I'm excited about Bags in the Attic. Yes. I can't wait. I can't wait to get my copy. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to the women out there are able to get and purchase the book. Tell them how they can stay connected to you on social media.
Absolutely. I'm Joan T. Randall everywhere. My website is joantrandall.com. You can connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. My business page, LinkedIn, all at the same handle, Joan T. Randall. You can Google me as well.
Wow.
I'm Googleable.
Yes.
As you are, Martha.
Yes, we are Googleable. That's right. I like that one. That's a new one. That's good. That's good. Joan, I tell you, I thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I thank you for being obedient.
Yes.
I thank you for taking that pain and allowing God to turn it into your purpose.
Yes.
And that process, that nothing that you went through will be wasted.
Come on.
Because it's going to equip, inspire, motivate, and empower women to do something about it.
Yes.
And I thank you for being here in the Real Talk, Real Women podcast studio. And to my bold, beautiful, and unapologetic girlfriends, that's all for today's episode of Real Talk, Real Women. I want to thank all of the listeners, and I want to thank you again, Joan, for joining me today and sharing your truth. To my super duper co-host, my hot sauce, Miss Adrienne M. Johnson, girl, I missed you, but I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my ride or die sister as we take this journey together to travel this world, to allow our voices to continue to equip, inspire, motivate, and empower the woman, her life, and her business. So, ladies, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spreaker, iClouds, iHeart, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. Also, make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms at The Real Women, Real Talk, Real Women, and personally at Martha Cooper Hudson and Adrienne M. Johnson on all of our social media platforms. Just join us next week, ladies, when we are joined by multimillionaire Miss Andrea Haynes as we continue to shed light on domestic violence, as we continue to give you a face with and a voice of our survivors. Next week, we're going to discuss, he thought he killed me, but God. So have a great day, and thank you, and we love you. And it is a wrap for another episode of Real Talk, Real Women. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us this week on Real Talk, Real Women. Make sure you visit www.marthacooperhudson.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast. And while you're at it, join our Facebook group at www.realtalkrealwomengroup.com.